This is a perfect team to use for Open Great League and use it before it gets nerfed down next season. So I saw this team from that Greek one, who is a Greek trainer that has a lot to offer in the leaderboards of Go Battle League. So I guess this team performs really well on the very high elo, and I'm gonna use it kinda low around veteran. So let's see how this is gonna go as we're grabbing one of the worst, if not the worst lead against Tropius. This Pokemon has access to moves to wall down both my Azumarill and my Trevenant, and as you can see, we managed to catch one Leaf Blade on our Trevenant, which is pretty huge. The reason I tried to catch here is because this was my real win condition, and on the CMP we managed to go for the Shadow Ball so that we could get one shield out of their arsenal, while we're getting yet to another CMP almost to get our hands on the Ice Punch and finish off that Tornado win. Now at the very end lies a Galarian Stunfisk, and all of a sudden we might actually have a win condition over here. That started as a terrible lead with the Tropius, but we end up having the ultimate sweeping scenario with our Sandslash. You're gonna see that a lot in today's content. We're gonna have a ton of bad leads, so stay tuned till the end. You will not miss out on anything. So back to back Ice Punches here to get the shield and the knockout over Stunfisk. Down they go. Tropius comes into the game, but all we need to do is to follow up with a simple Ice Punch, and that is gonna be a fantastic start to today's content. Into the next battle, everyone, with Azumarill over Venusaur. This Pokemon is another bad lead for us, but this is what I told you from the beginning of today's content. I want to block here because Trevenant can still perform really well against a lot of Pokemon that any backline can have, so I decide to go for the shield and then go for the bait over Shadow Venusaur. However, this is not gonna work, and my opponent will definitely not gonna fall for this. So as you can see, I'm having kind of a very rough time while Feraligatr joins the party. At this point, they must be having at least one Hydro Can ready to go, and they know that I'm getting super close to another Seed Bomb, and that's why they throw over here. So now with Azumarill over Feraligatr, we can always count on the final Pokemon to be kinda weak on our Alola Sandslash. I'm not expecting a fighter with this exact team, so I'm just gonna go with the player of here, see how they respond, and they decide to take the move. However, they end up going for one more Hydro before we farm down and we lose some crucial HP levels. So it doesn't matter at all because still we need to rely on their final Pokemon, and it ends up being something like an Azumarill of their own. It all depends here on if that Pokemon has the move of Hydro Pump, but it all will come down to the final matchup. So here comes now a move, down we go to the play rough, and this is absolutely huge for our Sandslash because we farm a ton of energy here against Venusaur, and we might actually have a chance over Azumarill. I guess that Drill Run is my main way to go, but at this point they're just gonna throw a cheap move, and this cannot be a Hydro. Just the play rough, not gonna deal enough damage. They realize they have no chance at all, and that's gonna be a magnificent victory for us. Into the next game now with the Chestnut up in front, followed up by the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So this Pokemon is always bad news for us because not only we have the worst lead scenario against Chestnut, but also we got a very nice hard counter to our Trevenant on the switch. So what we want to do here is to get out of this individual battle with at least 100 of energy left, and in doing so we need to sacrifice a shield in the process so that we might actually get that final shield back over that Chestnut with our super effective charge attacks. This is how good Azumarill can be. So let's see how they want to respond, and my opponent indeed returns with Chestnut. This Pokemon now is kinda energy dry, so we can easily draw some shields out of the way, but they get us on the CMP on our second charge attack. This makes us go for that shield over the Frenzy Plant. This is not looking that great now. I need to switch out on my Sandslash, but unfortunately for us, they have a Skeleton waiting for the very end. So Drill Run here will connect, but it cannot finish them off. Instead, they leave it. They survive with 1 HP left. Totally lost my words there, and Azumarill will will finish off the job. Of course, we cannot outspeed now to the Ice Beam, and we're gonna fall short against a very hard counter team. Into the next game now with another grass type on the lead. Are you kidding me? What is happening here? This Pokemon is very bad for us, so we're switching out on our Trevenant, and once again they stay in. However, this time I get straight on the Shadow Ball, and guess what happens next? They block, so the previous one didn't block. I don't know what is the correct play to do here. Go for the bait, go for the nuke, it all depends on if they block or not. But over here now we might actually be on a very good spot because Feraligatr joins the party once again. This seems to be a Hydro Cannon. I'm gonna take it since I have no shields, and of course since now they are shieldless, I guess that Azumarill can provide extra pressure on their end. I'm not sure if these teams are kinda popular on that Great League community that follows Go Battle League, but I guess that someone had to go for a team showcase for these teams because I'm seeing them all around the internet. So anyways, now with Azumarill coming into the game, we can easily go now with those play roughs over that Pokemon, and I guess that one more will actually do the trick to drop them below 50%. They cannot get enough of my Azumarill here, and I decide to go for the switch out on our Sandslash because I want to catch one move on my Pokemon, and they end up having no Hydro Pump at all, so it makes no difference, to be fair. So at this point I can charge up so much energy in the process. I can still get on the Drill Run to guarantee the knockout over Azumarill, and it all depends now on if Venusaur has here some energy. It doesn't, so we can easily take advantage of that, finish them off with the Ice Punch, and one Drill Run later can easily guarantee the victory over Shadow Feraligatr. Let's get it, everyone, with Alola Sandslash as our closer. You do not need the Shadow Pokemon for that, and besides those grass types, you are mainly afraid of electrics, so I guess that Lantern is a decent core breaker for your team, but as long as you have Drill Runs and your Trevenant over that Pokemon, you should be fine. So what you want to do on the switch is either go for the no shield and at least take a shield of your opponent with a shield advantage on your side, or just go ahead and push with your two shields for the crazy sweeping scenario, and of course flip around that very bad lead that Azumarill was having. But on this incident I decide to keep the shield advantage because I realized that Dragon Breath damage will still finish me off at some point, and I still want to keep my both of my shields into the game for my Sandslash for the very end game. And as it seems, seeing that Dragonair makes me think that perhaps they do not have a fighter at the back, otherwise they would be extra weak to those charms. So I guess this is what you want to do when you're having teams like this. You need to predict your opponent lines and make some thoughts about how logical their teams can be. Of course, sometimes some teams make no sense at all, but most of the times you can easily manipulate your opponents into doing some heavy mistakes. So my opponent here now gets on the surf to drop me very low. At the very end they have a Guzzlord, and we can do so much damage with a simple Ice Punch. A little bit later we can still get now on the play rough to one-shot down this Ultra Beast, and with that in mind only Lantern returns, but it is kinda low and energy dry, so we have nothing to fear over here. Into the next game now with the Abomasnow up in front, another bad lead for us. We get the weak connection all the time. I am not sure if that is a problem on my phone or the app at the moment. Well, it is getting pretty frustrating for me anyways. So now with that play rough we can apply some extra pressure on the Abomasnow and end up blocking, which is pretty great as well, and I'm pretty fine to get that next move on my Azu because we can still survive and they still need at least a Weather Ball to finish us down. So now with that play rough we can drop them at the same amount of HP that we have, and because they're getting a little bit of extra farm every single time they throw, I decide to go here for the Ice Beam, but we cannot, and down we go. At this point Sandslash can easily come into the battle, survive the following moves and charge up a little bit of extra energy. This is looking absolutely great for us, and now since they have an Azumarill at the back, I decide to go here for the Drill Run and apply some extra pressure on that Pokemon. I know that at some point I might be in a tough position with this team, but they end up going for the player up here, so now I decide to switch out on my Trevenant. I was kind of afraid that they had something like a Bastodon at the very end, but they end up having another Trash Pokemon, and that is the Metal Trascan. You already know how much I hate this one with the red steel on the closing part. So what we can do here is to easily survive the nukes and still deliver the lethal blow with our Shadow Ball, and since they want to block, I decide to block as well, since this is gonna be a pretty good incident for me to be in, as we can easily farm down in the process. Switching out now on our Sandslash, gonna get on the Drill Run, and at the same time we clear the debuffs on our Trevenant. We still have one Seed Bomb remaining for the knockout, so we're just gonna go for it, and since they are shieldless, this is gonna be an amazing victory for our team. Into the next game with the Chestnut up in front, we're expecting the Talonflame once again at the back. I'm trying to catch the move on my Trevenant, but this is not gonna happen. Unlike the previous incident, I decide to go here for the bait and the Seed Bomb. My opponent thinks they can easily farm down, but we end up outspeeding them to the Shadow Ball, and here we get the chance to one-shot down Talonflame. They see that, they back out, so even up against the worst matchups, you always have a chance if you play it right. Right now into the next battle with the Wigglytuff up in front, all we need to do is to survive the following hits while we want to deliver the lethal blow with our double player ups, but in doing so we also need to understand the situation that we are in. We cannot switch out on our Trevenant because this is gonna be a very bad matchup for us, and even though we still have a steel type at the back, we need to keep it for the very end game. Just remember that all of those Wigglytuff leads might actually have both a Bastodon and a Victory Bell at the back. So my opponent sets to go here for the double block, and I believe that this has to be a toxic team because they want to rely a ton on alignment. So over here now they see my Sandslash, and most probably they are kinda in a pickle. However, they end up having Poliwrath at the back with Mudshot. Who uses this? So Shadow Poliwrath here can be a very bad Pokemon for our Trevenant, but hopefully we have some shields to spare, and unlike them we can use them effectively here because that Seed Bomb is actually gonna be absolutely clutch. We can survive our Trevenant even more, and since they have a double counter backline, we can absolutely survive the move and still deliver the lethal blow with that debuffed Shadow Ball because of how glassy Annihilate can be. Next season Annihilate and the other counter users are gonna be kinda sad for the entire meta of Great League, so you do not have to build one up for yourself. Just use it now if you already have it, and you are not gonna regret it before they nerf it down. So now with Azumarill on the lead, I'm just gonna survive here pretty much whatever this Quagsire can throw, and since they want to go straight for those Mud Bombs, this is a much easier life for me. We end up getting the shield out of play, and sometimes after you predict your opponent's backlines, you can rely on Azumarill by blocking once or twice. So I figured out here that perhaps since they have a Mud Boy on the lead, they might be having double coverage for grass types at the back, so I'm definitely expecting something like an Altaria or a Skarmory or even both. So this opponent is having Skarmory, which makes a ton of sense, and my Sandslash will most likely be very good for the end game. Over here I decide to use it over Skarmory, and of course we can survive every single charge attack that they throw. And even though we go down here to the Steel Wing, I stopped hitting because I had a weird feeling that Revenant might actually be on a very good spot. This trainer of course makes no sense with their team, so I decide to predict a double coverage for grass, and even though I was not that good on my prediction, they still had the Skarmory, but the next Pokemon is also weak to grass types, and I do not know what they were thinking. Anyways, now with my Azumarill I can still guarantee the knockout over Lantern, and even though they can farm down here, my Trevenant is still emerging like a perfect closer for this team we can easily farm down Quagsire, and in the process Skarmory will pretty much follow the same fate. I'm telling you, this team is super strong to use. You can always try it out at your own risk, but when you see the results, you are not gonna be disappointed. So that is gonna be all for today, trainers. Thank you for watching and for sticking around till the end. It really means a lot for my channel. Before you go, leave a huge like, subscribe to my content, and click over here for the next 2 videos that might be of interest to you. Till the next time, take care, trainers.